This is when I started getting so angry. I'm yelling at the screen. I am vertical. And when I say vertical, I don't mean like I'm sitting up. I mean body thrown back on the sofa, legs in the air, kicking, screaming. I was so mad about this. Hi, welcome to Gracie Talks. My name's Gracie. We are doing Train to Busan today. We're going to be adding this one to our zombie survival guide. We have already covered Walking Dead and Last of Us. This is the next zombie movie that we will be discussing. I'm going to give you some context on the movie. We're going to go through the plot summary. And then finally, we're going to go over survival tips and tricks at the end. Let's do it. Train to Busan is a 2016 South Korean film. The main meat of the story takes place on a train. That train is going to be KTX Train 101. KTX is a Korean bullet train. To be considered a bullet train, something has to go over 200 kilometers per hour. That's about 124 miles per hour. And the KTX, this is real. I'm talking about in real life, can go up to 305 kilometers per hour, which is about 190 miles per hour. That is a bullet train, if I've ever seen one. This film was really, really big for South Korea and a lot of countries in that area. It set a lot of records. It set a record for most moviegoers actually going to the theater to see it. It ended up at about 11 million, but it broke the last record, which had been 10 million. It was so successful that they ended up doing sort of a film series. The director of this film typically had only done animated series. This was his first live action movie. It was fantastic. And so with all the success of this, he came out with an animated prequel that year in 2016. And then they also followed it up with a standalone sequel in 2020. It takes place in the same world. It's not the same characters. It's not exactly a sequel. It's a standalone sequel. It was the highest grossing film of the year in South Korea, Hong Kong, Singapore. It was an original story as well. I love seeing new original stories. Granted, it's original story, but it's still based on zombie apocalypse idea, which is not a new concept in theory, but it's still a completely original story. It's not a reboot. It's not a spinoff. So I really appreciate that. Just really quick to go back. This movie was so successful for South Korea and it broke records and it was a really big deal. And it was a reminder of how much money is in the US, Hollywood, in making movies, American consumerism, but specifically entertainment and in Hollywood, because I was looking at the actual numbers that this movie brought in. The movie had a budget of $8.5 million and it grossed $98.5 million. A movie making $98 million at the box office in America would be considered like the lowest of the lows. And I don't mean that for this movie was fantastic, but I'm just saying like it really was a stark reminder. There is so much more money in US Hollywood than in these other places that it kind of makes us look ridiculous, if you ask me. For reference, Avatar, which was one of the most expensive films ever made, okay? So I'm using extreme examples on both sides to show you what that difference is. Avatar was one of the most expensive films. But for example, the first Avatar film had a budget of $237 million and it grossed $2.9 billion. Billion with a B. The sequel, Avatar 2, had a budget of $350 to $460 million and it grossed $2.3 billion. Just the numbers are staggering. And it sort of was another reminder for me of there is so much money in the US and like, what are we doing with it? Have yet to figure out food shortages and healthcare, but we can throw $500 billion to see blue people get freaky. I don't know. We're about to get into the plot summary now. This is typically when I would give my disclaimer on the fact that I'm going to make fun of the movie. I'm going to do it in a loving way, but I really respect that people got together and put work in to make something. And I want to honor and respect all of those people. I'm not going to give that disclaimer this time because I have nothing negative to say about this movie. I loved every single part of it. The writing was so good. The way that it was shot, visually stunning. I thought the cast, the acting was so good. I do not speak Korean. I'll touch on that in a second, but I never watched the dubbed version. I just can't do it. So I always just watch it in Korean and then I have subtitles. This movie was so good. I cried so many different times. I flagged every time going through my notes that I cried during this. Spoilers for everything. We're going to get into the plot. The movie mainly centers around one main guy and then his daughter. And then we meet a few other characters that sort of become the main group that then we will follow through the movie. I am going to give you all of their names. All of their names are Korean. I am going to try to pronounce the Korean names. I'm very scared about doing this because I don't want it to be disrespectful. I'm probably not going to get them right. I did research. I looked up how they should be pronounced in Korean. I always cover stuff with the intention of really honoring the source material, and I want to get it right for everyone, especially Koreans and Korean speakers. Please let me know everything that I get wrong below. Let's do it. The main character is a man named Sok-woo. He is a divorced father. He is taking care of his daughter, Suwon. He is a fund manager. He works with investments. The movie does throw stereotypes in there about him being a bloodsucker and kind of the worst of the worst and someone who only looks after himself because he works in finance. He gets a whole character arc in this, don't you worry. Because he is working so much, he barely has time to see Suwon, and so Suwon is sitting at home and she wants to go visit her mother. Sok-woo and Suwon live in Seoul. The ex-wife, Suwon's mother, she lives in Busan, which is where Suwon wants to go. Sok-woo's mother lives with them and helps take care of Suwon. He's got a pretty nice place, making really good money, really just hasn't prioritized the family yet. The movie opens with him having kind of a bad day at work. He's having to sell out of funds. They're having some issues because of a mysterious virus that is killing animals, seemingly caused by water, natural water. File that away. Suwon's birthday is the next day. Seok-woo goes home, goes to see her. She's having a hard time. She's lonely. She wants to see her mom, right? He gives her birthday gift, which is a Wii, and then looks up and he's already given her a Wii. It's just supposed to be an example of he's kind of checked out. He's not doing a great job as dad. So he says, what do you want? I'll get you anything else. What do you want? She says, I want you to take me to Busan to see my mother. And he says, you drive a hard bargain. Can't do it. He goes to talk to his mom at the end of the day. She's telling him, you kind of need to get your stuff together. Suwon had a singing recital and she wasn't able to finish. She got stage fright because she was so devastated that her dad wasn't there. And then when Seok-woo hears that, he's like, what did you say about a trip? Oh my God, I was just singing to myself, I would love to take you to Busan to see your mother. When he watched the camcorder footage of Suwon singing and then getting stage fright and not being able to finish it, by the way, cry count 1. It's the next day now. I'm just gonna give you the very basics of this, okay? We're gonna focus it on a couple things and then we're really gonna talk about the zombie specs. That's really where we like to dissect things. So just sort of the quick things on this. They get on the train the next day, early in the morning. As they're going there, they're seeing some weird things happen. Okay, we're seeing ambulances go by, we're seeing animals act weird, that kind of stuff. They get on the train. It is an hour ride from Seoul to Busan. Seok-woo is going to go with Suwon, drop her off to her mother, and then come back, make it back to the office by lunchtime. He's not gonna be able to do that. I'll give you the main players now. So we have Seok-woo and Suwon. This is the dad and the daughter that we've been talking about. We have Sung-hwa, one of my favorite characters. He's the best. He is on the train with his pregnant wife, Sun-kyung. She is also the best. Those main 4, by the way, really all of them, she's an icon, she's a legend, she is the moment for all of them. I love them so much. I would say that's main tier. Coming down, we also have Jung-gok. He is a baseball player. He's there with his whole baseball team. And then Shin-hee gets on the train. It's unclear to me if she's actually his girlfriend. They call each other boyfriend, girlfriend later, but then at the beginning of it, they seem like they're not boyfriend, girlfriend. Maybe the trauma of everything that happens ends up bringing them closer together. At this point, status questionable, I guess, but they are sitting next to each other on the train. They are supposed to be high school students. There's also a pair of elderly sisters. There is In-gi and Chung-gi. And then finally, one of the worst villains I've seen in a very long time. And I mean worst as in he made me hate him so much. I was screaming at the TV. So I mean worst in a very good way. He inspired such anger in my soul, which is a calm soul, let's be real. His name is Yoon-suk. I don't know if these pronunciations are terrible. I'm so sorry, please forgive me if they are. We also have a character that I am going to throw in with this sort of larger main group. I'd say the main is those top 4. And then you have this larger main group. I'm going to throw in a guy. He doesn't have a name in the movie. I believe we were supposed to assume that he is experiencing homelessness. At the very beginning of the movie, they're sort of trying to get him off the train for being a stowaway, but then very quickly the people on this train to Busan realize that they have bigger fish to fry. Before we get directly to the outbreak and the zombies, because you know there's going to be a zombie outbreak on this train. This train is KTX 101, by the way, if I call it that going forward. KTX 101 is this train ride from Seoul to Busan. You know a zombie infection is going to break out. Before it does, couple of small things. As the train is taking off, going out of the station, you see the chaos start to unfold. You see people start jumping each other. Somebody flies by and tackles this other person right on the station. You sort of see the start of the zombies start to go. I just love that it was excellent. Everybody in the train is insulated, not really noticing it, but it was really cool visually. The stowaway, who doesn't have a character name in the movie that I was talking about, he's in the bathroom, seemingly in shock, and he keeps saying, all dead, everybody's dead. So he clearly has already seen something from this infection, but he's either not sharing it or he's unable to. That was another moment of foreshadowing. And then finally, Sung-hwa meets Suwon while he's waiting outside of the bathroom for his pregnant wife, Sun-kyung, to finish peeing. Sung-hwa seems like a chill dude, even to Suwon. It was like a 5-second interaction. It ends up mattering in a second. She also meets villain of the century, Yoon-suk. Super quick interaction, just like the one with Sung-hwa, except he already proves himself to be the worst. Let's get to the outbreak. A woman gets on the train right as the doors are closing. The train workers don't see her getting on. She flies right into that train. She is infected. We are going to refer to her as patient 0. She would not be the true patient 0 for this virus. By the way, this virus never gets a name, so we'll just refer to it as the unknown virus. She wouldn't be patient 0 for the whole virus for this. Obviously, we've seen that the zombie virus has already started to spread, but she would be patient 0 for KTX 101. So this woman, patient 0, she gets on the train. You can see some of the symptoms. I'll talk about them fully in a second, but you can see the virus actually like moving through her veins. For patient 0, it's her leg. She tries to put a tourniquet on it. She ends up collapsing, seizing. A train worker goes to help her. You're dead. Patient 0 bites that train worker, moves through the train. The virus spreads quickly through the train, just blazing through. It is crazy how fast this spreads. The non-infected people are just trying to move away from the infected people as quickly as possible and get to a safe car. Everybody in this world still has their phone, TV access. So at this point, they start seeing news stories of an outbreak, but then there are reports from the South Korean government saying everything's fine. They are lying. Where are our main players now? So we have Seok-woo, that's the main guy, and his daughter Suwon. We have them in one train. Yoon-suk is also there, but they're not really interacting. They are in a safe car now. I keep saying car, I mean the different cars in the train. Later, there's a scene where they have to move from car 11 to car 15, so I'm calling them cars just Keep up. They are in a car with no infected people. You can see a massive horde of zombies trying to get to their car on the train. Sang-hwa and his pregnant wife Sun Kyung, they are in front of that horde of zombies. They catch up to the safe car. Yoon-suk screams out from that car. He's like, shut the door. We don't have time to wait for them. They could let the zombies in. Sok-woo does shut the door. Bad. But then he has to deal with Sang-hwa standing there with his pregnant wife Sun Kyung just at the door. These zombies are coming up behind them. They're about to be taken. Sok-woo does open the car door, let them in, and then slam it right behind them. Sang-hwa is obviously upset about this because he should have stepped in sooner, but he still did come around. And again, we're gonna get a whole character arc with Sok-woo, baby. Don't you worry about it. Something that happens, by the way, before Sok-woo does let them in is Suan, his daughter, recognizes Sang-hwa as being someone that she had a conversation with on the train. So she tells her dad, she says, wait, I know him, let him in. So then Sok-woo does still open the door. I'd like to believe that he would have opened the door regardless, and that being the argument of stop, I know him. It's like, that doesn't matter. Oh, he's a nice man, he's a person. I am not going to go this in depth and everything, by the way. I'm just sort of giving you the big establishing things, especially for these things at the beginning, and then we're gonna be able to move pretty quickly through the zombie infection, how it works. So this is an unknown virus. In the movie, it looks like it spreads through either bites or scratches. It turns people incredibly fast. It looks like either minutes or even sometimes seconds. You can see the infection moving through their bloodstreams. It's gonna discolor their veins. They're going to get a white film over their eyes, and then they also become verbally aggressive right before they turn. Finally, when they are turning, there is seizing, twitching, their body sort of, it's a snap, crackle, pop situation. One of the things that this movie does that is really cool is that because it's Outbreak Day, a lot of the worlds we've talked about so far, we're just talking about the worlds that we're living in now that zombies exist. Outbreak Day is always fascinating. And Outbreak Day is always where you're gonna see very large amounts of people in some of the most dangerous situations that you will be in because everybody is still out in the open. We don't have the proper precautions. The way that the zombies move in this is that they are incredibly fast, they are incredibly strong, but also they end up sort of moving as a mass. Once they see a target that they are going after, they will all go after it, meaning that they will climb on top of each other, they will all pull each other. If they are all leaning against something to get to these humans, it's not just one person pushing up against the door. You have the force of 500, 1,000 people, thousands of human body weight all leaning through this one thing to get through, but they do have weaknesses. What we just saw with the non-infected people getting to a safe car and then closing the door, the zombies are still trying to get in that door. Sok-woo says, hey, you don't have to hold the door shut. They don't know how to open it, and they don't. So the zombies are right there pressing up against the door. They don't know how to actually work the lock to open it, but they could all just start pressing against that door and break it down, right? There's a whole mass of them now. Sok-woo also puts together that they're only violent when they're looking at the non-infected, at the humans, which kind of sounds obvious, right? Like they'll just sit there and then if they see you, they want to attack you. But what he actually means by this is that they don't seem to have object permanence. So if you are not directly in their view, they'll kind of forget all about it and let it be, which is what we need to happen right now because they're all pressing against that door. Sun Kyung, icon legend, right? Grabs a water bottle, newspaper, slaps it to that window, obstructs their view from them. The zombies all go back to sort of just lazing about and not actively trying to take the door down. They are safe for now. So the zombie tech specs, what are we up against? They are fast, they are strong, they are more powerful as a unit. Their weaknesses are going to be they have no object permanence. If they can't see you, you're probably going to be fine. How they die, by the way, it's different for everything that we talk about. It seems like they just die the normal way that you would kill a body. If you can put that body down, that zombie's done. So now we have a safe group of uninfected people and then a bunch of zombies on this train. They are being told by the conductor that they're going to stop in Daejeon instead of stopping in Busan. And then we have Yoon-suk, villain of the century, and Sok-woo, who at this point, they are still sort of two sides of the same coin. They ultimately end up going on different arc trajectories. Sok-woo cements himself in my head as a hero, but that hasn't happened yet. At this point, they both make secret phone calls unbeknownst to other people on the train. They call their contacts. They say, hey, is it going to be safe to get off at Daejeon or not? They do not give other people this information. They're also not working together. They're calling people completely separately. Sok-woo ends up finding out that if they stop in Daejeon, if they get out, they're going to be put into quarantine, and then you don't know when you're going to be able to leave the city. You're possibly going to be in danger with other zombies. So he asks his contacts to have people waiting for him to grab him and Suan and get them out of there. He does not tell anybody else that information. I really went back and forth with the morality of this. What do you do in this situation, especially because it's not just him. He is trying to take care of his daughter. And there's a part of me that totally understands that, but it still doesn't make it easier to swallow. He also tells Suan, at a time like this, you have to take care of yourself first. You cannot be worried about other people right now. Is that a good parenting message that I would give my kids? No, but if my kid was gonna die and there was an active zombie outbreak, y'all, I don't know. I don't think that I would ever stand for not trying to help other people. You never know until you're in the moment. But I'm saying in terms of what sounds moral to me, it would be moral to look after others before yourself. But then if it's your kid, now what's What's moral? What's the answer? Do you tell your kid to still look after everybody else, or do you tell your kid to get out of there alive? I don't support it. Hear me, trust and believe, but I get it. So Seok-woo has this plan going into Daejeon, and I should say I'm coming down on him for not being like the #1 most self-sacrificing person from the gate when it comes to dealing with the zombie apocalypse. He has been doing absolutely everything for Suwon, everything for her. In terms of the advice as well, so he had told her you have to look out for yourself at a time like this, and then earlier in the movie, which I think that I forgot to mention, he also tells her about the singing recital. He says, hey, next time you can't stop. Once you start something, you have to finish. I just gotta flag that because again, it's gonna come up. The recital conversation between the two of them, cry count number 2. Okay, thank you for sticking with this. I know it's a whole lot of context before we talk about overall survival tips. We're gonna start speeding this up now. They get to Daejeon, it is completely overrun. Seok-woo and Suwon do try to go their own way. Suwon is not happy with the fact that they're leaving other people, but before she ends up trying to run away or something else ends up happening, they get overrun by zombies. Everyone else, by the way, who's going down the main platform, it was grotesque. They're going down these escalators. It's a conveyor belt of humans being sent into the mouths of this whole, it was crazy. All of our main characters get away, get back to the train. Seok-woo ends up working alongside Sung-hwa and the nameless stowaway man. They all work together. The stowaway at one point throws his coat over a zombie that's attacking Seok-woo, and because the zombies have no object permanence, Seok-woo was able to sort of get away. That's a cool survival trick. So now our main characters are kind of cooking with gas, right? We're seeing it. We know how to take on the zombies. Everyone does get back to the train, but they are all split up. Seok-woo, Sung-hwa, and Jung-guk end up in car 11. The area is safe and secure. They end up fighting their way through 4 cars full of zombies to get to car 15 and then ultimately reunite with all of the women. Those scenes were so good. The main scene where they sort of strap up and get out there, they have baseball gear. They end up going through the baseball car. Sucks for Jung-guk. All of his buds are in there. That's awful. They end up putting like sports tape and something firm around their arms, sort of as a block against bites. They have baseball bats. And then while they're making their way to car 15, they end up utilizing the tunnels. So when the train goes through a tunnel, the zombies can't see. As long as you can get through without garnering attention, you are going to be okay. This is what they do. We love to see it. At one point, some of the girls are in car 13 and they have to get everybody all of the way to car 15 and they end up taking everybody through. They end up moving through the overhead storage bins above the seats in a tunnel. So there's a blackout, zombies can't see, and they just go above to get to the other side. Very cool. These were like tough characters that we were following. Smart, strategic, resourceful. They end up using maps on their phones to calculate the length of time that the train's gonna be in the tunnel based on how fast the train is moving to calculate how fast they need to get through the car. Like they're using math and stats to strategically defeat the zombie. I mean, it's like everything that we do on this channel. It was so fun to watch it. Would I survive this film? Yes. Touching it more at the end. Those 3 guys, by the way, they also just brute forced their way through a couple of cars. I think like 1 or 2. Sung-hwa was such a force, a unit. I was like, what does this man do for work? That he can be a special forces level warrior like that. So the girls caught up with the guys in car 13, and then Shin-hee, Jung-guk's girlfriend, almost girlfriend, whatever she is, and Chung-ki, sister to In-gi. This was the elderly pair of sisters. That pronunciation is really rough for me. Ki, Chung-gi, and Jin-hee are in car 15 already. The rest of our main group, everybody else minus them, is now outside of car 15, made their way through these zombies behind them. Jin-hee has told them, hey, my friends are coming. They're safe. We can let them in. But who else is in car 15? I'm going to think about this villain for the rest of my life. Yoon-suk is also in car 15. He says, we can't let anybody else in. They could be infected. We can't let anybody else in. You have to keep them out. They physically restrain Jin-hee and they have barred off the door. We have the rest of our group now trying to open that door to car 15. It's not giving. And we're out of a tunnel now. The lights are on. The zombies can see us. They are coming. Sung-hwa is holding the door closed. Car 15 does not open the door to save them. This is when I started getting so angry. I'm yelling at the screen. I'm yelling at the screen. I am vertical. And when I say vertical, I don't mean like I'm sitting up. I mean body thrown back on the sofa, legs in the air, kicking, screaming. I was so mad about this because the group makes it to car 15. They could have all been saved. They made it there in time. Because car 15 chose to fuck around and find out, this group ends up losing people to the zombies. They just can't keep the hordes back. Sung-hwa ends up sacrificing himself. I'll hold them off for as long as I can. You guys just get that car door open. They do end up busting through the door for car 15. They are able to get in. It sort of comes down to Seok-woo and Yoon-suk just pushing against each other. I'm like overheating just thinking about it, how angry it made me. Sung-hwa dies. Oh, cry count 3 for anybody who was wondering. Sung-hwa dies. Tells Sun Kyung, his pregnant wife, to stay with Seok-woo. Everybody else is now making it into the car. In-gi, her sister Chung-gi, is in car 15. In-gi is with this group that is waiting to come in. Because of the hesitation, they could have all made it in and been fine. They had enough of a window of time when they first approached the door. Because car 15 chose to be selfish fucking assholes. This is a fictional movie. I need to calm down. It is calm in my soul. In-gi also ends up dying. Chung-gi sees that, is devastated. Car 15 has used a fire extinguisher to sort of blur all the windows so that they are visually obstructed from view, and they have barred the doors. So this is a safe haven, a veritable safe haven that they have built for themselves. The main characters, we have Seok-woo and his daughter Suwon. We have Sun Kyung, who has just lost her husband Sang-hwa. We have Jin-hee and Yoon-guk. We have villain of the year Yoon-suk. And then we also have Jung-gi, who has just lost her sister. Seok-woo punches Yoon-suk in the face. Thank God. The relief that I felt when he did that, it was somewhat satisfying as a viewer. Not enough, though. I need to see more damage done to Yoon-suk. The punch did really help. Yoon-suk convinces all of the Car 15 people that Seok-woo is infected. Look, he's going crazy. He's infected. He's clearly not infected. There is no bite. His veins are not infected visibly. He does not have the white film over his eyes, and everybody in that car is so scared and so fearful that they all go along with this. Car 15 tells them that they have to leave the car. They have to go to the vestibule, so that's going to be sort of the in-between car area. They kick out Suwon, young child. Sun Kyung, a pregnant woman. Car 15 is the worst. As angry as I am, this is one of those moments where I do think that this was really real. I think fear makes you do crazy things. And I think at the end of the day, if you are not really, really careful to be somebody who is always going to look out for other people, you become really nasty and really fearful. I ended up fearing zombies and humans almost the same amount in this movie, which I think is a sign of how well done it was. Yoon-guk actually tells Jin-hee, he says, hey, you're gonna be a lot safer here. I need you to stay here. And she says, no, I'm going with you. That ended up being the right call. At this point when I was watching it, I was really wondering, how are they going to give the audience enough of a payoff? We have to be given something to make up for this so that we don't just leave the theater being super frustrated. And just you wait. We have zombie horde trying to actively get to people, Car 15, and then you have our main group on the other side of that locked, fortified door. Jun-kyu is sitting in that car, safe. They're safe. She's not happy that this group of people just killed her sister. Indirectly, but still. She walks up to that door, connecting Car 15 to the horde of zombies, opens it, kills everyone in the car. On the one hand, it did feel kind of good watching it. I did feel justice. On the other hand, certainly that's not moral either. That's straight up murder too. Jung-gi ended up being really hardcore. Morally, where do we stand on this? I don't know, but god damn it, I loved it. I did. And that's on what Car 15 deserves. Remember, villain of the century Yoon-suk is in this car. He ends up being able to hide in a bathroom with a train worker. He's gonna hide that out. The zombies can't see him, whatever, but he will be dealt with, trust. The train is headed to Busan. We are learning that the military has set up some sort of encampment. It's safe shelter. Seok-woo also got a call at some point. We ended up finding the lore behind the virus. One of the biotech firms that he actually helped fund is where the virus started. They were working on something and they accidentally created this virus that was this mutagen, and it ended up being this. It's not actually his fault. I mean, it's not directly his fault, but it was just kind of fun for the lore. This train now with pretty much just our group, the conductor, and then Yoon-suk, hate that guy. And the train worker, pretty much everyone else is infected now on this train. They end up having to stop. There's a crash in the train yard. An on-fire train full of zombies comes and ends up causing a whole bunch of damage, as is off to happen. Go watch the film. Essentially, Yoon-suk ends up using the train worker as pretty much bait, throws him to the zombies as a distraction, and then he gets out of the train. They're moving through tracks on a train yard, and they have to get to an open train that the conductor has gone to set up, and he's like, get to this other train on the other side of the track. So they're sort of going through these other train cars that still have infected in them to move through. Yoon-suk is looking for human shields. He finds Jin-hee, feeds her to a zombie to try to get away. At this point, the amount of people that he has directly killed to try to save himself, it had me leaping through the screen. Yoon-guk was with Jin-hee when this happens, and he ends up staying with her and then effectively letting her turn him because he refuses to leave her body. And yet I still don't know their relationship status. Whatever it is, sweet is their relationship status. Yoon-suk ends up on that train. He ends up being attacked by zombies, but we see him make it through, get to that train. That's the information that we have. The conductor has been turned into a zombie at this point. Seok-woo, Suwon, and Sun Kyung end up trapped under a train that fell over, and there are these hordes of zombies waiting to fall on them. Again, so much happening. Just go watch this movie. They end up getting out of that. They make it to that train that the conductor has told them to. Seok-woo goes to check the cabin of the train. This one, the main area that they're standing is outside. It's directly in the open air. It's not inside like the KTX 101 was. He goes to check the cabin. He finds an infected Yoon-suk. That part was maybe the only thing where I wish that it had been done better. Yoon-suk being zombified off screen, very little fanfare. We don't really get to see anything. We just see him mowing down other people and sacrificing all of them. And then the next time we see him, he's a zombie. It wasn't that good of a payoff for me. I feel like that deserved more of a send-off. Ideally, he stays alive throughout the entire thing, and then he is put on trial and faces legal ramifications for his actions and also the judgment of his peers. but we'll never get that now. Seok-woo is now fighting Yoon-suk. He's trying to protect Sun Kyung and Suwon, who are on this pretty small walk space with him, and he's trying to fight off Yoon-suk. It's a pretty even fight. They're going back and forth. If Sung-hwa was there, he would have had that guy down in 5 seconds. At one point, Sun Kyung gets Yoon-suk's attention when it looks like he's about to overpower Seok-woo, and then Yoon-suk is going after the girls. Seok-woo is trying to get Yoon-suk away from the girls. He might have been able to overpower him. However, Yoon-suk's mouth is very, very close to Suwon, and so Seok-woo puts his hand over Yoon-suk's mouth. He does get bitten. Cry count 4 through 1400 because it really kept going. I would say from this until the end of the movie, it just never stopped. He ends up being bitten to protect his daughter and this woman. Before he turns into a zombie, he is able to throw Yoon-suk off of the train, and then he gets the girls in the cabin. He shows them how to sort of work the brakes to say, use the brakes if you need to, if there's an emergency. Otherwise, take this baby all the way to Busan. The goodbye scene with him and Suwon is so brutal. And at this point, we've been doing this for a long time. Okay, this is a very heavy thing to talk about. There's a lot of death and despair in this. I have another funny picture of me for you, if you make it through all of this. Probably should have plugged that sooner. A lot of people probably left already. Thanks for being here. Stick with me, okay? We're almost done with the movie. We're gonna get to survival tips. Seok-woo puts the girls in the cabin, goes to the end of the train. He is the only person in this movie that we see that when they are turning, we do not see him get aggressive. We don't see every person who becomes a zombie get aggressive, but for everybody that we are there for that part of the transition, they get aggressive and very hateful with their speech. He is the only one who turns into a zombie that we see in his final moments. He looks truly happy. He's remembering his first moments with Suwon when she was born. He has the smile on his face. You see the infection moving, and then he throws himself off the train so that he cannot be a danger to the girls. We are now just following Sun Kyung and Suwon. They make it as far as they can on the train tracks. There's a crash. They have to get out and go the rest on foot. We don't see any interference from zombies here. We do see a couple zombies that are still alive, but they are either impaled or otherwise indisposed, and so they are not a threat. There's one last tunnel that they have to walk through to get to Busan. They are walking through the tunnel. Unbeknownst to them, there's a group of military on the other side that is waiting to shoot any zombies that go through that tunnel. We see the soldiers radioing that they cannot tell if the girls are survivors or if they are zombies. They don't have a good visual, and to the military's point on this, you don't have that much time. By the time that you see one of them, if they're able to take somebody out, that whole area is pretty much done. They are given orders to shoot. You see the soldier squeeze the trigger. He's going to shoot, and then oh my God. And then you hear Suwon start singing. She is singing the song from the recital, the one that her dad had told her that once you start, you have to finish it. She has just lost her dad, and she is singing this song that she learned for her dad. The name of this song, by the way, it's actually a Hawaiian song. The title translates to Farewell to Thee. It is a goodbye song. She is singing this for her father, and she doesn't stop. And it ends up being what saves her and Sun Kyung's life, because they're able to hear the singing and they know that it's survivors and not zombies. And then the movie goes out on a close-up of Suwon's face, crying, reeling with the loss of her father. The actor who plays Suwon, all of the acting is really good. That final shot of her face, the girls, by the way, they do not know. We never see their faces come to terms with the fact that they have now made it to safety. They are safe from outbreak day. They have made it from the zombies. Busan is going to be a safe center for them. They made it. We never see them come to terms with that because we never see them learn that information. It just goes out on Suwon's face. I never really talk about child actors on this channel when we go through, at least I try not to, because for the most part, it's like, hey, it's a kid. Do we need to comment on their acting? No, because it's probably not gonna be nice. This child actress, I mean, I could have watched just 30 minutes of that final shot. Just her sort of sniffling, crying, singing. I was so enthralled. It was so phenomenal. Suwon is obviously singing in Korean, but the song translation is goodbye, goodbye. The sweet and gentle one living in the distance. One fond embrace, I leave until we meet again. And it's from that Hawaiian song, Farewell to Thee. Absolutely gut-wrenching. We only have one last thing to cover in this video, and that's going to be the survival tricks. But as a thank you for making it here, and as a thank you for listening to how devastating this movie was emotionally, this is the picture of me when I finished the movie. That's my dog Bijou. One of these days I'll have a flattering photo for you, but not today. Certainly not after Train to Busan. Okay, so let's talk my survival questions now. In terms of how the infection spreads, I read that it spread through bite or scratch. I only saw it spread through bites. And I guess my question is it a saliva or a blood thing? Because if it's a saliva thing, then I understand that it only spreads through bites. If a scratch can turn you, or alternatively, if blood from a zombie were to accidentally get in your mouth, say that you're slashing your mouth's open, you accidentally ingest blood, these are gonna be 28 days later rules. Is it blood and saliva how it spreads, or if it's just saliva? The bites and scratches part would mean that it should be any blood or saliva gets on you that's gonna turn you. I'm just sort of throwing that out as a question. If anybody knows, let me know so we can add it to the stats for this. us. I'm gonna have to go by blood and saliva if it says bites and scratches. Question number 2, would chopping off the infected area work like it does in The Walking Dead? When Sokwo's hand gets bitten, I wasn't even stressed. I sat on that sofa and I was like, oh, he's just gonna cut his hand off. Now, I don't know if they didn't do that because they didn't have tools. They are on a moving train. Presumably there is not a hatchet or something sharp enough. You'd think there would be an axe on a train if you had to break glass in case of emergency. Whatever. He doesn't end up cutting it off. Would that work in this world? I think yes, even though we did not see it. Because you can see how the virus spreads through the veins. You see the woman trying to do a tourniquet in the first scene. She still ended up turning, but that could have been because she just did a tourniquet. She didn't actually chop the leg off. I'm feeling like if you cut off the infected area, that's another way to survive. But this is meant to be a discussion because what we're ultimately going to do is we're going to put this in our existing ranking of zombie shows, which at this point is just Walking Dead and Last of Us. So we're going to discuss all these specs. If you disagree, let me know. We can discuss. Last question. And this is on the if the zombies can't see you, they won't actively attack and they don't have object permanence. What part of your body is a signal to them, hey, I must attack? Because it's not just smell and it's not just that they can sense a beating heart because you can be near them when the lights are off and they're not going to do anything. If you were to wear a human-sized garbage bag and cover your facial features so you didn't have anything that was distinctly human about your appearance, would you be able to move through them without them losing their shit? Obviously, you would have to be very careful. I need to know what is happening from a recognition standpoint when the zombies do see the humans and decide to attack. Because it's like with sharks. Sharks don't actually want to attack people. They don't have any interest in eating us. We are not tasty to them, but they do like eating seals. So if they see a human and a human starts flopping around, that sounds funny, but actually shark attacks are not a joke. If a human starts flailing or flopping much like a seal would, the shark goes, oh my God, that's a seal. Catch of the week, so tasty. And then it goes to attack because you presented like a seal. What part of you presents like a human for these? Is it the shape of you? Is it the way that you move? Is it your facial features? If we figured that out, that would be this world's version of Walker camouflage. With these notes being taken, with this research being done, in terms of the ranking for zombie survival, most dangerous one that I don't want to go into, that one is Last of Us. Number 2 was Walking Dead. I'm going to put Train to Busan at number 2 now. Walking Dead is going to number 3. I do want to acknowledge Walking Dead, I made fun of them for only having really slow zombies. Since then, I've done research. There are variants now. They can go faster, so I don't want to harp too much on that. Still taking in everything from the world. I think Last of Us I don't want to go into. Train of Busan second, and then Walking Dead finally third. Train to Busan is also going to seem like a scarier world than the others just on face value because we're watching Outbreak Day. It's a personal thing. Let me know your ranking below. Lastly, would I survive this world? Yes, I would. You want to know why? Because I don't leave my apartment. I'm not walking around in groups of people. I have crippling social anxiety and I do this for fun. Be serious. I work from home. My husband does not. I spend most of my time alone with my dog. She's not getting turned. I'm not getting turned. Who's going to turn me? There is the small issue of I would have to go out for reinforcements, but I could figure that out and get to safe shelter. So yeah, I would survive. That brings me to the end of this video. If you were here, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. As always, let me know what other shows you want to do. Okay, love you. Take care of yourselves. I will see you soon.